Hey, Miami sports fans. Stop by Caneswear today at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. And check out their awesome merchandise selection of your favorite South Florida sports teams. From the Miami Dolphins, Hurricanes, Heat, Marlins, Florida Panthers, and Inter Miami, they've got it all. Celebrate your favorite team and show off your fandom with their beautiful team starter jackets, killer-looking helmets, team jerseys, cool shirts, and more. And if you are out of town or out of state, no worries. Go to caneswear.com and find everything they have on their site. Select what you want, and they will ship your gear to you. Anything over $99 is shipped for free. Don't wait. Stop at Caneswear today.
Ahora de Cuba la Bella, del Palacio de los Jugos, los chicharrones. Los vecinos aquí se enteran de todo.
Mi vecina es la CDR en Cuba.
Y en verdad no hay nothing that you can do. Chacleteras sin llames con corbata.
Aquí yo vendo hot dog, pero en Cuba yo era médico.
Les saco el dedo y digo Q. Sweet home Hialeah. Solo 30 minutos de Le Fallo. Oh, sweet home Hialeah. I hate your traffic, but I love you.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of a special edition of East 10th Street Boys, straight out of Hialeah. I'm Bobby Finstock, joined always by my brother Alex Atiachisca. Alex, my brother, how are you?
What's up, my man? I see you went with a goatee. I like this fresh now. Nice, bro.
Hey, it's so fresh, you know. It's just a couple days old. Already got the little the growth coming in here, but
since you got the grays also there, like me, like it starts looking like the Hulk Hogan one. It looks like you have nothing there.
And that is exactly why I trimmed it, because I had trimmed my beard, and then I looked over here, and it was so white, like there was a patch of it, and I looked like I had like a patch, and I was so mad. But of course, as soon as I do it, I miss it, you know. But Tati loved it; she got excited about it, you know.
Now when it starts growing back, that salt and pepper, that looks nice, man. I'm telling you, I can't wait. The problem is, I got, like you mentioned, you got patches here, you know. So until it starts coming out fully salt and pepper, it kind of looks a little weird.
Yeah.
So I have to trim a little bit. You see this one right here?
Like,
yeah, I get crazy amount of white hair everywhere here, but not all around yet. But little by little,
man,
little by little.
Yeah, you know, it always happens though. Like all of a sudden, I get I start to hate it. You know, I start to go, oh, I need to get it. I need my beard back.
Tell me, isn't it the worst part when it starts growing, but it starts itching? Like when it starts. Oh my God! Once you pass a week and a half, you're good. It's easy sailing. But that third or fourth day, you're thinking about just shaving it off again, but you're like, no, I must be strong. I must be strong.
You start contemplating life without the beard. You're like, okay, I got that machine. Just keep shaving it off. I just feel naked without it. I really do, you know. So it's okay. I'm living with it. I'm
all right.
With it,
I'm all right.
Mentally, fine. I'm okay. You know, I'll get past it. But my goodness, a lot to talk about, of course.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about Miami Heat. We're going to talk about the NBA. Have it down pat. I was trying to take a look. I thought I had my notes with me. I did not, but that's okay. I already know what the hell I'm going to talk about. But first, you know, of course, the season for the Miami Heat is now over. The Heat lost to the Boston Celtics game 5, 118-84. Leading scorer was Bam Adebayo with 23 points. Just before the season, I'm not talking on the season. Let's talk about this game here, just the way it kind of played out. Obviously not what we wanted, but not really surprising. Let me ask you this. Watching that game, is there anything that you took out of it, like silver lining, saying, I liked what I saw here, I think we could build on that?
Well, I think that the biggest silver lining, aside from obviously we miss Jaquez, and believe it or not, missing him kind of gave me the insurance or the security per se that I needed to see that there were certain moments that I'm like, if Jaime was here, he would be taking care of that. He would be playing one-on-one. He would be picking up Jaylen Brown the moment he crosses half court. He's strong enough there. He's going to develop. He's going to improve his shot. He's going to become a better defender. So his absence kind of made me kind of going into the mindset of free agency where it's like, I'm okay if we lose Martin. I'm okay if Martin opts out of his PO. I'm okay if Highsmith doesn't re-sign because I believe in Hackers. I believe also in the development of Jovic. But above all else, it's just Bam. Once again, Bam established, and I know he didn't win DPOY, but Bam Adebayo is hands down the best defender in the NBA. And we don't need an award to prove that. Like Spo doesn't need an award to be one of the best coaches year in and year out. And even today, now that you mentioned that I'm on the awards, I think SGA should have won MVP this year. I really genuinely believe it was his MVP. But obviously Jovic won it. That's his third and fourth year. You can't deny his greatness, even though they're facing a tough test right now with a Minnesota team that is the best defensive team in the NBA.
They're facing the future right now in the
and
NBA.
Ant-Man. Yep.
Dude, that dude is special. And you called it out. You said it last year because, we were talking. I asked you because you're very, whether I agree with you or not, a lot of times, you're very possessive of the Heat's pieces. Like it's very hard for you to let someone go. And you can't imagine it because you're not that you're ever wrong or, not to say that you're wrong. I don't agree with sometimes because I'm like, no, dude, we got to get her better. But you are very possessive of your guys, whether it's Bam, Tyler, Jovic, or whomever at that time, Justice Winslow event, it's just what it is. Because you say, you believe in the development. You believe in what they could be rather than what they are right now.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to ask you that question. I say, okay, is there one guy that you would trade for? Of course, there's other dudes, but if there's one guy, would you say the one guy would be Anthony Edwards?
And they can have anybody on my team.
Anybody. Give me
anybody on my team.
Give me Anthony Edwards because you could build on Edwards.
I could build off Anthony Edwards.
And credit to the Timberwolves. I mean, and again, you again last season we were talking about it, and one of the things you were critical of was the trade for Rudy Gobert. You didn't think it was going to work.
Yeah.
But what they've been able to do, it's like
they reshaped their team. They reshaped their team.
That's why I want to say this with Anthony Edwards. Mm-hmm. And the reason why people are like, wait, dude, we're supposed to be talking about the Heat today. We talk about everything here.
We're going to talk. Don't worry.
But let me tell you why. I know everybody right now, they're thinking of Donovan Mitchell. They're thinking of Kevin Durant, LeBron James, whatever's realistic and unrealistic. Everybody's throwing those names out for the Miami Heat. And I absolutely get it. If you could, you should entertain it, all in the above, of course. But obviously there needs to be some kind of changes with the roster and all that. But again, why I'm excited, why I think that the Heat could add a good player if they draft right is the draft. They got 2 draft picks.
Yeah.
Look what they've done with the last 2, especially Jovic. Not Jovic, excuse me, with Jaquez. Jovic is developmental and he's getting better and he looked really good. But Jaquez was that immediate impact. And this draft right here, there is no one guy that should be the number 1 pick. This is going to be a tough. It sucks to be the number 1 or 2 team. Kind of reminds me of Derrick Rose and Michael Beasley. You had to be one or the other. So being the 14th pick, I think it's 15, 16. 15.
Yeah.
Being that 15th pick, you're really in prime position because who are you going to fall? But also the Heat are not going to get the guy that's falling unless because that caught them with Justice Winslow. They need to go get the player that fits them the most.
That is, and I love that you mentioned that because I remember before Justice Winslow dropped, I always envisioned the Heat drafting Booker. I thought they were going to go for Booker a few picks before people expected him to be because people forget about this. Devin Booker was kind of like the same situation that Bam Adebayo was in Kentucky. Devin Booker was like a 6-man type role. He was limited in reality, but people saw his potential. And I will go to my grave swearing that the Heat would have drafted Devin Booker. Justice Winslow falls. Justice Winslow was a great player. He was supposed to go top 5, maybe to New York. There was a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
I think it was Porzingis that they drafted, right? That was is that the draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they
go Porzingis, and then Winslow starts dropping, and then obviously there's a situation where even though you don't work him out, you have scouts. I've seen them, and you feel that you can develop them in regards to having Wade. And you also drafted Josh Richardson that year, which is a great year. And by the way, Josh will probably opt into his player option for next year. But there are situations there that you mentioned this draft. It's probably Alex Zar will be the first pick, or the other. I forgot the other kid's name. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Rashir or the French. The other and too.
But that's the thing. Topic. You got Stefan Castle. There's a lot of guys, or not a lot of guys, but there's a handful of guys that could go number one. Alex Sarr from France. That one is probably the most popular one. Yeah,
Sarr and Rashard are one or two. One of them they're just gonna flip. But like you mentioned, it's a perfect draft, and we'll get more deep into it now. But you kind of have the philosophy that they're still going to pick best player available. But in regards to how they did with Jaquez, based on your roster construction, and Pat Riley alluded to, you have to be financially savvy. Not because they're not willing to pay the tax, and they've always been willing to pay the tax, is the repercussions of going into that second apron. And he kind of mentioned in his press conference, 6 out of the 8 teams that were over the tax were already eliminated from the playoffs. It doesn't guarantee you anything anymore.
It doesn't.
It's a new era.
That's why, I mean, he made it. He said it. He mentioned it. He said, first off, there are players.
Yes.
He didn't name it, but he said there are players that, of course, you would move heaven and earth to get. He said, basically, we're not paraphrasing, but a lot of times when you get those stars, they kill your bench. You look exactly what happened with the Phoenix Suns. Look what happened with Phoenix. They got Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and they had Booker already, but they got those two guys. And I know any Heat fan would say, "Oh, get me one of those guys, or get me both of those guys." But guess what? Then you don't look at your bench. What happens with Jovic? What happens with Jaquez? What happens with Caleb Martin? Those guys. That's why it's good to, again, I think moves have to be made. I think sacrifices have to be made, but not tearing everything down.
No.
Now there's, and what I love too is that he talked about the draft, and he said, we got 2 picks. I wish we had 5. There should be 3, 4, 5.
That is a great point what he mentioned.
He 100%.
That is an amazing point, because either way, you're gonna sign him as undrafted free agent.
Yeah,
might as well make it part of the draft. And draft him.
Give me 5 rounds. Let me have 5 rounds. But that tells me too
is to have more rounds.
They should. I mean, more work for us, but it's fine by me.
Hey, it's
but
you're still gonna sign them, and it eliminates the whole two-way player, because you're still gonna sign those guys, so you might as well draft them.
But what it said to me though too as well, and let me throw this up here. I do have some of Pat Riley stuff, but in regards of that comment there, is that he intends to use those picks and to keep those picks. That's what it screams to me. But let's get, and this is it's so funny. So let's stay on the draft very quick, because we're talking about it. We're there. Draft options for the Heat. It's Heat. The draft is right around the corner. Mm-hmm. But we're still going through guys and going through processes, and I'm looking at guys, and I'm very intrigued. I love that Miami has 2 picks, because the second round pick is just as important as the first round pick, because even though Justice Winslow did not work out, Richardson did. Richardson was great, and we got him back, and I was excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and our scouting department is designed for this, because it's basically a developmental pick as well.
100%.
You're going to develop them.
And look, and when considering what Miami could do or should do with those 2 picks, and I think they have what's this called, the 15th and
the 43rd.
The 43rd. Thank you, Alex. Yeah. So some of the players that I wrote down, just basic research, not watching yet, just researching them and say, damn, I love what I hear. Dalton Niche, Knecht. He's a wing player, 6'6", 204, can shoot 3. Jacoby Walter, combo guard. That's another one. Because you don't know what's going to happen with Tyler Herro. You don't know what's going to happen with Duncan Robinson. Is he included in a deal? So you think of those type of players. Those guys you could possibly get in the second round. But you start to think about size, too. I think size is huge. I love what Udonis Haslem said, minus what he was talking about with Herro. But what he said about we need to get a true center to pair it with Bam. Bam could play the 4. He said all this, and we've talked about this. And as much Clutch would say, he's not a forward, but it's even one of the best players, and when a smart player is saying it. We've talked about it, and so you start to look at guys with size. You see what's going on with Denver right now, and you see what Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, what they're able to do to Joker. You go, damn, how could I you can't obviously copy that because Bam's not going to grow 3 inches, but you could get someone next to Bam that also offers that size, also probably some range as well. But anyway, some of those guys, Zach Edey from Purdue.
They're always going to talk. And if people say it can't work, it could work. It could work. It can make it work. But there's a lot of development when it comes to, for example, on the roster, right? Let's say you re-sign Kevin Love. And I know we'll go through it there, but just to make it quick so we can draft based on that. Kevin Love's going to give you experience. Do I believe I still don't think Nico's going anywhere. So I told you Nico's already 6'11". 6'11", going on 7 feet. He's still growing. Yeah. You got Orlando Robinson, 6'10". I believe Orlando Robinson will be part of the rotation. Thomas Bryant is probably going to opt in, but he's not going to get playing time per se. He's just like an emergency player. But you're going to start seeing an uptick. And the NBA started on this transition maybe like 3 years ago. You kind of started seeing the writing on the wall where you had the Chet Holmgren, then you got Wembayama. Now you're having players that are taller, more athletic, and kind of like monsters from Space Jam. It's become that league. So predominantly, we started the small ball era, right? And really Phoenix did. We just perfected it, and we actually won a championship. With, by the way, that's another situation with Phoenix. They've done it again. Phoenix, at the time when they had Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire, and they traded for Shaq, they messed up their whole chemistry, their whole synergy of the team. They changed their dynamic. Even Phoenix right now, Phoenix's build, when they just had Chris Paul, but they had Mikal Bridges, Devin Booker, and Cam Johnson, you would have been competing with the Minnesotas now. But now you kind of dug yourself in a hole, and the owner has to double down because that's the roster you have.
And that's why, again, I can understand going for one guy, that guy. When you got a name like a Kevin Durant, you go get that guy, give up what you got to give up, but also keep your your core intact, especially the core pieces on the rotation, the bench. Yeah. But when you go, okay, we got KD. Now let's go get Bradley Beal. And now we got to give up a lot more. And now, it looks very nice. Your top 3 guys.
It's salvageable. James Jones is a GM. It's salvageable. You have a first-round pick this year, but you need to hit on your free agent signings, and you need to have a complementary roster for your big 3. Because if they miss any time, you don't have any talented depth. You have depth, but you don't have talented depth. So one of those, either Booker has to have the ball in his hand and create, or Beal has to. Something has to give. There has to be a pecking order because they used Kevin Durant the wrong way. Kevin Durant, and he even came out and said it. Kevin Durant, for a lot of the times, would just spot it to the corner, go to the corner. You can't have KD in the corner. No. That's not a productive offense for you. You're misusing KD. You're going to do it. Use him as a center. Play small ball. Use KD at the 5 and go with another guard or a smaller forward. Like something, you have to make adjustments to that because it's not sustainable the way they had it this year.
So just to continue some of the names that stand out. There's other names, of course. No, you're good. But again, Zach E. I'm talking about then just talking about size and just talking to some of these guys. But and I haven't watched any of these guys, so I'm being full disclosure, but I will.
Me neither. I haven't gone in depth.
Reading, I will because, and I love, me, I love stuff like that. I'm already on to next year's NFL draft. Yeah. So this is stuff that I love. I love finding these gems and, but Zach Edey, 7'3", 306, very intrigued. I mean, that's massive. That is, and it's not even, that's what and again, I have to take a look at him. I've seen his picture, but I got to get a real look at him to get like an idea. Okay, is that big boy 306 or is that like, imposing 306?
He has good low post move. He has very slow footwork, but he has good footwork, but it's a little bit slower. But he's a great rebounder, and obviously he's a physical specimen.
Obviously, let me pull up somebody that the ringer.
He might drop. He might continue to drop.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Again, that 15 is there. I think later is possible too. Oh, here he is, and it's funny. Okay, so he's. Let me post him up here.
Yeah, go ahead. Actually, while you're doing that, the only small person, that sounds horrible. The only smaller player that I think the Heat will consider is the combo guard, the one I told you, the one that went to actually Doral Academy, which was Anthony Carter's son, Devin Carter.
Yes, I remember you brought him up. Yeah,
that combo guard. There's a chance that he might be their selection, but I really think they're gonna go 6'6" and above, athletic wing. Probably, hopefully, in the 6'8", 6'9s. They want to go with size.
So Edie, this is what the Ringer writes, and that the Ringer's really damn good.
They're really great. They're great.
Yeah, they do a great job with NBA stuff. Mm-hmm. Massive center with a skill set that has transformed him from a fringe draft prospect to a potential lottery pick. Human highlight reel, interior scoring, post presence.
Correct.
It's hard to stop interior scorer, not just because of his size, but because of his skill in touch.
Yeah,
he does a great job of using his massive frame to seal off positioning and make himself available for the interior feed.
He's a master sealer. He knows how to use his body.
What you just said, he does not have that advanced footwork, but his gigantic presence is enhanced by his agility. Willingly embraces his role, whether putting limit. That right there screams Miami Heat. That's why I marked him. I said someone who, and that's the thing about Miami. You draft a rookie, you're not going to say, hey, we're going to push you in the front. No, you could come off the bench and still be an important piece.
Of course.
I.e. Jaquez. So this guy is very intriguing. I'm going to look more into him. Another name I wrote was another size guy, and he might go a little higher. You don't know the way the draft's going to fall, but the center out of UConn, Donovan Klingon.
Yeah, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone.
7'2", 280. Yeah. Malvin Ajinka from France, a forward, 6'7", 200. Jalen Tyson, another forward out of Cal, 6'7", 215. Keshad Johnson out of Arizona, 6'7", 225. So in that 6'6" range and above.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Filipski.
That's the tall one from the center,
Duke,
right? Or the power
forward.
Yeah,
center from Duke, 7 feet 230.
He's probably gone top 10. He's gone.
Well, but see, this is why I still take these names because the draft is so weird this year that one of these guys could be at that pick. Mm-hmm. Tristan Da Silva, forward out of Colorado, 6'9", 220. That's another guy.
See,
go ahead.
That's a nice size. Unless I gotta see, I forgot if he's the one that he plays down low or he's more of a wing, a tall wing. I don't.
Da Silva's right here. Let me see. I had him right.
Check what it says there. So because I think I've seen him.
I'm not big, and either one. I'm not big on comparisons, especially with NBA, but NFL, because I always think it's unfair to the player because you expect him.
Yeah.
But they say he's shades of Kyle Anderson. This is what they write on here: matchup problem. Who finds a way to contribute no matter what his own team scheme is.
Okay.
Spacer. No, I don't know about slow-footed, but we'll get to that. Spacer, positional versatility, feel for the game, off-ball defense. This is what stood out to me. Obviously, size is great.
Yeah.
But effortless spot-up three-point shooter who's made nearly 40% of his catch-and-shoot threes in college per synergy. Coordinated at rim finisher with knack for opportunistic cuts and sealing off defenders under the rim. Then using either hand to hit hook shots. Using either hand. Capable of making every pass. He can run the break and or pick and roll and make creative left-handed roundabout passes to rollers. Makes entry passes look easy. Colorado stuck him in the middle of the zones to pick apart defenses. Competitive defender with the quickness to switch screens and the awareness to make timely rotations off the ball. Minuses. So pros and cons.
Yeah.
Cons are lacks explosive athleticism, which limits his ability as a roller and lob finisher, as well as his capacity to turn the corner on drives. He doesn't inhale rebounds, and he's not the most vertical athlete. So he's best served as a forward and might not have the flexibility to play as a small ball center. So, but that's another guy where I look at and I go, okay, Grandma, great to see you.
The moment they start describing, and then they're like, great cutter, elusive, has great instincts. Whenever they start using those words, it then slowly but surely, when you read the cons, slow-footed, doesn't have great athleticism, but he's a cerebral player. By the sounds of it, he's a knockdown shooter, a cerebral player. He's always going to make the right play, but he's probably going to be a step slow at times.
Remember what you said about Jaquez last year too when you watched him initially.
It's different. It's different.
His athleticism.
It's different.
So
remember, I told you he was a more athletic version of Max Strus.
Yes.
And when I started watching the film after you told me, I'm like, holy shit, this guy's footwork is top. It's elite. And once again, this
So
is the difference of 3 years of competitive in college. And even though that's one of the things that we'll talk about also, some of these athletes and rookies, they have issues and injuries when they come out of college because also you're upticking your body from a 30 something game season to an 82 game season. So that's why you see some of these rookies have some injuries, some debilitating ankle injuries and knee injuries that they don't really get strong enough until their third or fourth year in the league. And then you have, your Anthony Edwards and your Wembayamas, which are just different, and LeBron. So
yeah, and so here's that other name I brought up earlier. Make sure I pull this up here. I'm tracking storms here in Tennessee, where I'm located. We had a EF3 tornado in Spring Hill, which is just about 20 minutes down, south of me, and we had some later tonight. Yeah, we were watching it. But the other name I brought up earlier, Dalton Nitt from Tennessee, the wing player, 6'6", 204. I just pulled up his stuff here, popped up in front of me, but you just brought up Max Strus. They say shades of Caldwell Pope and Max Strus, this player.
Strus, yeah.
Movement shooter, pull-up threat, clutch gene, off-ball defense. Again, you think, I don't know what's going to happen with Duncan Robinson. I don't know what's going to happen with Tyler Herro. Every offseason, it's like we're going into what's going to happen next with Tyler Herro. Now it's about Jimmy Butler. But either way, whatever happens, I know Wes Goldberg today on Twitter predicted that we will lose, or Jimmy Butler will be traded this summer. That's what his prediction is.
That's what he predicted?
Yeah, I saw it on there.
They're not going to trade. They're not going to trade.
But dynamic three-point shooter, knockdown three-point shooter from deep ranges. He could sprint into the ring or readjust midair. Talented shooter off the dribble with multiple moves, create space. Tennessee player.
Yeah.
We saw what happened with Josh Richardson. We just drafted Jalen Wright from Tennessee for the Dolphins. So I would not be surprised, just because I don't know why the connection between Miami and Tennessee, but it's there. So is there any – I know you brought up the kid that played out at Doral Academy where we went when we were younger.
Yeah.
But is there any other player? I know you haven't had a chance to sit down and look.
I haven't really had.
But is there any real player besides actually sitting down and gaining a few names that have jumped out to you? Go, I'm intrigued by him.
Not necessarily in the first round.
Okay.
What I just saw actually his prospect video is they call him the Chinese Jovic. He's like a 7'1" Chinese center. Oh, he's a little slow-footed, but he looks just like Jovic, like the Joker. Sorry, I keep saying Jovic. It's Jokic. Jokic. Oh, we have Jovic.
We have Jovic. If we had Jokic, that'd be a different story. Hey, if we could get, if somehow, some way we could get Topic with Jovic, and I would be.
And Topic honestly is still like maybe a year, 2 years away, but these are the things that you can, even with your second round pick, unless he's part of a deal. Because, for example, Miami can trade the first round pick after they draft. So if there's a wink deal or there's a deal in place, Miami will draft a player and then trade him. And I know, are you going to come up with do you want me to save it for a later part of the show? Possible trades and all that, or do you want me to mention it now?
Oh, you can. We're going to talk more about it. We got a whole thing.
I'll save it.
But I will say, again, you think of Topic. You think of. I mean, I want the name of that Chinese player that you just brought up, because I would love to research him. But the Donovan Klingon, UConn sophomore center, 7'2", 280, shades of Ray Hibbert. Again, that's what they're saying. I haven't looked at him, but. Of course, the size intrigues me. What they write about him intrigues me. Yeah. I know you say he could go. He's probably going to go top 10. More than likely, he will. I've seen some mocks where he is in our range. And the truth is, I can see it because there's no true number one player.
No,
it's just basically and it sucks to be the number one team this year. Whatever team ends up with the number one pick, it's going to suck.
And don't get me wrong, you're gonna get two decent players, okay? But it's not a clear cut like a last year when you had Wemby. And then even
That's
after
the point.
Wemby, you have good fallbacks.
That's right. Well, you look at what happened, right? They got Wemby and then Scoot Henderson, and you see how Scoot Henderson played last year. You know, guys who are coming off that Ignite, I think that's what it is,
The
right?
G League, yeah.
G League, you know what happens with those guys? Do those guys fall? This what happened with Scoot. But then you think of teams that, like I'm saying, that number one pick. If you go ahead and you take, I'm not going to say a player name to damn it, because I think there's a lot of good players, but you take a player A and he ends up, and then player B, C, and D do way better in the first 2 or 3 years, you're out of a job. Why did you draft this guy number one overall when you could have got? We're talking about Justice Winslow. You took Justice Winslow, but you should have took Devin Booker. And so it's like that's the killer about, even though that wasn't the number one pick, you could have had a Booker, and then whoever, and imagine Booker with a Herro, with a Bam, that would have been a great one too. So we'll keep going with the draft. We'll talk about it because I do believe the Heat are going to use those picks, and I do believe those picks will be essential to the Heat next season.
Correct.
I do think they're going to be a part of the Heat, and I think the Heat have every intention of making whoever they're going to take be not, maybe the center's different because, like you said, unless you get a guy who's ready to go, you have to develop him, you have to get him in shape, you have whatever. But the guys they're going to draft, they saw what happened with Jaquez. They want guys who are going to be able to be impact players day one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not guys.
A season.
Yeah. You don't want a guy that's going to be, in the what's that called? The developmental league.
Yeah.
Whatever. You want a guy day one. So anyway, this was. Let me pull this up here. The Miami Heat. I don't have my notes. Somebody did this, which was great. Yeah. So credit to them. But
I think this is Bobby Marks.
Bobby Marks, thank you.
Yeah, he always goes through after every team got eliminated, he went through.
Love this. So the 15th and the 43rd pick, the committed salary this season, Alex, $189 million. Yeah. And the tax threshold is 171.3. So the Heat are right about at the second apron.
Yeah,
second apron is 189.5. So listen, includes first round pick and Tyler Herro unlikely bonuses. Interesting. What to watch? Balancing the budget to get under the second apron. The future of Jimmy Butler, extension eligible. We do know that Pat Riley says we haven't had any discussions because we can wait a year. He has not said they assume he will say something. The media is saying he's going to say something because based off his history, but he's what Pat has said, and we're going to get to what Riley has said about Jimmy, etc. He said we'll think about it. And then the Bam Adebayo extension. Key free agents: Caleb Martin, he has a player option. Highsmith, and then Kevin Love has a player option. So looking at this, Alex, first off, just regards balancing the budget to get under the second apron. What moves could the Heat make? I know you brought up trades. What moves could the Heat make that will get them under the budget yet keep them still competitive?
Well, so the problem is this committed salary right now, 189. It includes the cap holds on a Caleb Martin, on a Kevin Love, because of those player options.
So they can reject those.
Yeah, for example, once they reject those, that cap is that committed salary goes down. Now, when it comes to budget wise, you just have to see playing out what you're gonna do moves wise, because then remember, this is when they come up with this salary, you gotta be below the second apron by the time the league year ends. So it's not even during the season. You have time to get under the cap. That's why if you notice the Heat always make those last season moves when they either get a buyout signing, they convert a two-way contract into a standard contract. So budget-wise, I'm not even remotely worried right now because we have the best cap expert in the whole NBA who wrote the codes for the cap in Andy Ellisberg. So when it comes to salary and hurdles through salary, there's no issue there. You just have to have an offseason. You got to get your numbers in order, and you have to see what team you end up with, because this is all right now on paper. In 2 months and 2 months and a half, this team might look completely different in regards to certain key points. Remember, like Roddy said, they're not going to tear this down. This is not a fire sale per se, or rebuild. We're never going to rebuild.
It's a retool.
Yeah. It's a retool, and a retool can be, when they mention change, I like to use the word of evolve also, because there's change within your team and there's change that comes from outer additions, which is always good to have every season, either one or two, because you want to refresh the locker room also. So it becomes stagnant after a while. And there's also a lot of things that you start looking into. And when you mentioned the press conference, people overlook certain things when they talk about change. And when they hear the word change, they think it's swapping people out and constantly trading. Do I believe that this is the year that we can get Donovan Mitchell? Absolutely. I believe this is the closest we're going to be. And I believe that if he does, if obviously the Cavs, I think maybe they push it to 5 against the Celtics, but they're not going to beat the Celtics. So then that's obviously going to become the number one topic. If there's going to be any coaching changes, if they're going to move Garland. But if Donovan Mitchell requests a trade and only narrows down certain teams to not start a bidding war, Donovan Mitchell's under control here, because he can state, I'm only going to sign an extension with Miami, and once again, that helps us out in regards to how kind of the Damian Lillard situation played out last year. But Damian backed out a little bit at the end and allowed Milwaukee also to be part of it. He entertained it, and he ended up in Milwaukee when Portland didn't even take a call or didn't take the final offer for the Heat. But I do believe out of all the years, this might be the year that Tyler Herro gets moved. And I believe he's the centerpiece of any move. It could be Tyler, Duncan, and you have an array of possible free agents that might want to come to Miami at the mid-level, at the biannual exception, which is a lot of these situations people don't realize. Mick Harrison doesn't want to pay the tax. He'll pay the tax. But teams like the Suns, when you go above the second apron, that's your team. You don't have an exception. You can't do sign and trades. You can't accumulate. You can't aggregate players to match salaries. So, for example, I can acquire a $45 million player by trading 2 players that make $20 million. You can't do that. That's part of the reason of the second apron. And you're going to see a lot of teams this year. And I believe Adrian Wojnarowski was the one that said it, that this offseason is going to be a lot of moves. Why? Because teams are going to be balancing their budgets. Teams no longer are going to have 3 max players. That's going to be an anomaly from going forward. Like, it's not going to happen because it's just not smart, because it limits you. It's not about financials anymore. And don't get me wrong. That's why the whole situation with Jimmy's extension, and I'll get a little bit more deep into it, the new TV rights deal, I don't know if you heard, it's probably close to $7 billion a year. The cap will rise. Obviously, players are going to get a lot of that money as part of the CBA agreement, but the cap will continue to rise. So some of these contract extensions that we're talking about now, just like we talked about it before, are going to be percentage-wise equally to what they are right now. So those are things that we're playing what do you call this? A cat and mouse game in regards to see who succumbs first and who calls the bluff first with Jimmy. But there is no situation, I believe, that, for example, Jimmy Butler will be moved. I believe Jimmy will finish his career in Miami. This is kind of like, it's the perfect person to do it with, because obviously other comments came out of what Jimmy said in the F1 race, where he actually sat down and had the interview. They just got the sound bit because he's always does his bravado things, and they've talked about it a lot of times. You can see how someone gets tired of it in regards to, when we needed you, you're not on the floor. And not a knock on Jimmy after getting hurt in Philadelphia, but it's okay. That series is over. You can kind of understand where Pat will be like, if you're not playing right now, just don't say anything about them. Don't say that. I understand
Well,
that's Jimmy the person.
especially if you haven't been out with a lot of games, and Pat has made it known that he's had a conversation a season or 2 ago with
his representation,
his agent, saying, hey, look, you need to be available. And when you're not available in the most important time, and not taking anything away from Jimmy, who playoff Jimmy has led us to the finals and almost had us, get to the limit with the Lakers and brought us to the dance against the Nuggets. But still, where were you? What have you done for me lately? You were out for a lot. You had, was it 60 something out of games? one year.
There was, for example, this year there were like a good 15, 16, 17 games were injuries. The other one were personal reasons.
Personal reason, which we don't know, but still, it's like it starts to add up. And I'm not talking about fans. I'm talking about what Pat Riley was saying.
Oh, absolutely,
absolutely. Where he goes, and I think that's where kind of the frustration comes in, where he goes, I don't know if he's trolling, but I don't know what he's doing. But if he's serious, he needs to shut up if he's not here. Yeah. And it's kind of like, dude, if you're not going to be here to play, don't talk shit after.
And this is the trend. This
Our
is
guys
the trend
did
now, bro.
No, and my thing would have been like
now. Like, remember, like the holdouts in football. Yeah, that's always been the trend. For example, when you want a new contract.
Yeah.
With the NBA, this never really happened, but it started happening when and I know Adam Silver tried to get a little control of it. That's what the whole situation with Damian Lillard, because you started having guys that had 3 years left in their contracts demanding trades. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand the balance between a front office wanting to trade you and not having to give you an explanation and trade you because you're kind of their property as a player. I get that. I understand player empowerment. But one thing that stuck out to me in regards to this situation, and I'm gonna be brief on it, but I want to get to the point. This whole situation with Jimmy, it's gonna be a back and forth. It's the natures of negotiations. And Pat knew they were gonna ask him that question, and he responded more firmly than anybody envisioned him responding, because typically you keep that in house. But when Pat wants to say something, he'll send the message publicly. And out of all players, people forget. Is Jimmy eccentric? Yes, Jimmy's eccentric. He loves the attention outside of the court. I don't fault him for not wanting to speak to media at times or being by himself, because if I was that player, I'll be the same way. I'll play my game. Now, what I do see, and when they talk about the erosion of the culture, there seems to be a little bit of tension in regards to the relationship at times with him and Bam, him and other players with the team, because obviously it's famous that a lot of things, and the guys from 5 Reasons have mentioned this, obviously, because they got a lot of inside information, is a lot of the responsibilities in the community with the organization has fallen on Bam, where Bam is the one that takes care of everything. He does the interviews. He speaks to the local media. He's basically your franchise cornerstone. He's your captain. Jimmy Butler, yeah, he saved the franchise in 2019, and he gave relevance again to the culture talk. But at the same time, Miami was the only one willing to offer him a max contract. And Miami gave him a second max contract when he asked for an extension. So people, I believe this is going to simmer down, and Jimmy wants to be here. Miami wants him to be here. Not only is he worth that money, $60 million at the age of 38 on the court. No, he's not worth that money on the court. But I believe now in the NBA, certain players in your rosters, their worth is on and off the court. Relationships are important. And I understand optics are optics, but with this franchise, the way the Dwayne Wade situation was handled, granted, Jimmy Butler has a lot of leeway in regards to, it's famous now, when they travel, he stays in his own hotel or in his own house. He doesn't stay with the team in the team hotel. That was never the case with LeBron and the Wade teams. So he has a lot of leeway. The NBA has changed. The Miami has adapted at times, which honestly I don't agree with. I believe a team should all stay together no matter where you go. I've always been a big believer in that, because that's the way you build these bonds. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't get along. They get along, but you kind of see the relationship a little bit sour where it becomes professional. People thought at first it was Jimmy and Tyler, and then I think there was moments between Jimmy and Bam, which happens. NBA seasons are long. When you've been together for 5 or 6 or 7 years, it's going to happen. Relationships change. You mature also. So sometimes I feel that this is the perfect calling for Jimmy, because Jimmy's the type of player that when he hears this, he's going to take it as a challenge. He's going to take it and it's going to ignite him. He wants another contract. He wants to get paid. So if you give him his money, I also believe that he will perform for you. But it's the importance of being available. And a lot of these players, like they've mentioned, they have their own training staff. They have their own trainers. you have to be aligned with what you're doing, how you're working out, because there's a trend in the NBA that's happening. Load management is not working because these guys are sitting out games, and then when it comes playoff times, they rev up their bodies. Their bodies are not used to it because you can train. Nothing will train you like an NBA game. So I believe the NBA has to start looking at a few options because even Pat said it, the whole 65 game rule for awards, what he said is true. You're telling them it's okay. You can take the other games off. You just got to play 65 and you'll qualify for awards. And I mean, Jimmy doesn't care about awards, so that's not his case. But still, it sends a message where you're making 4 times more money. The league is making more money, but you got to play, man. The way we've advanced in science and treatment, how is it that players are more injured now? I know careers are elongated, but and people are going to use the whole LeBron thing. LeBron's a different species. Like LeBron is 40 years old and he's still playing like he's 32, 33. But you can see there's certain points that there's certain days that he has to take time off, even in games. If you notice LeBron, there's glimpses in games where he's cruising because he has to do it. That your human body only reaches a certain point, man. Like that's why athletes have their prime because that's their prime. Like you can be 40 years old, but his body's going to take longer to recover. He'll take 2 to 3 days to recover what he would do in a day when he was 24, 25. But I believe that there is an evolution within the team and even with Jimmy's role. And I do believe he's going to sign. I'm not sure if he signs the extension this year. It's going to get tricky though, Bob, when if Bam does sign his extension and Jimmy doesn't sign an extension. That's when I believe it will be resolved before, but if it becomes public that Bam gets offered an extension and signed, which rightfully so, where everybody in their right mind will offer it for now, and it doesn't affect your cap either way until it kicks in. So I believe that's going to get done this offseason. Doesn't need to, but it will be done. And then comes the Jimmy situation. I do believe there's an outside chance that he does sign it. I highly doubt that he will ever leave and opt out of his player option. But we have to see how it plays out after free agency and all that too.
So let's go ahead and run over some of Pat Riley's comments. And after I read it, you go right ahead and just give your quick thought on what he's trying to say here or what it's trying to mean.
Okay.
But let me go ahead first. Let's start off with this here. I should have noted these, but this one here is on Pat Riley on Jimmy Butler's extension. We don't have to do that for a year. We have not discussed that internally right now, but we have to look at making that kind of commitment. And when we do it, and do we do it? We'll see. We haven't made a decision on it yet. He also talked about his health, and the reason why he doesn't do it is because he what he says as well is we got to make that commitment for people who are going to be here healthy. You know, that's a lot of money for a player who plays 50, 60 games a year and not in the playoffs. That's just to see here. Make sure I get the right one. I think I'm missing one, but that's okay. On Jimmy Butler, there's things you have to really look at. Who moves the needle for the most for our team? It's Jimmy. He's an incredible player. What I said at the beginning about change, he has to give it some thought himself for this to be what he wants it to be. And was it finally here? I think this is it. And of course, his comment about the Heat beating Celtics. For him to say that, I thought it's that Jimmy was trolling, or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or the Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut in your criticism of those teams. So when he talks about change, and he started that off, he gave his initial statement was about change. And he said, look, with change, what I brought up with the team, I'm really talking, that really goes with Jimmy as well. And I think what he's trying to say is what we just talked about was being healthy. Even when you're not 100%, you're at 80%, get your ass on the court. If you could walk, if you could talk, if you could joke on the bench, you should be playing the game, especially when you're in the playoffs. With these comments, like, what are your thoughts when he says something like this right here about change?
Well, to me, and I will attest it to when he said that Sposh needs to take a deep dive into the defense and offense. I believe there has to be a change systematically, philosophically, in regards to how this team operates, both defensively, not so much because you kind of see it. But he mentioned something that's very true. When you go deep down into the analytics of the analytics, when you break down offenses and defense, because you can have, and in football is the same thing. You can have a fifth ranked offense, but certain components of that offense are really lacking, and the other ones are 1, 2, and you might have one that lacks in the 11th, like rebounding, offensive rebounding. You might be a 12th, so it affects your percentages. It affects your ranking. Once you take a deep dive into that, I believe even how he prepares for games, it could be positional. I believe I already started seeing changes in Jimmy last year. For example, his rim percentages are down. Okay, that could also be attested to the way the NBA changed the officiating mid-season, which was an abrupt. Usually, that never happens. Any changes like that are done in the offseason. But the NBA was seeing that the scoring was getting out of control, and guys were getting called fouls for left and right, so they let him play more physical. And Jimmy's game, for a majority of the time, Jimmy relied on just driving and getting contact and going to the foul line. When they took that out, you started seeing some of his percentages go down. His lift around the rim went down. His now the positive of this, what I believe was one of the changes that Jimmy implemented, his shooting percentage. He shot, I believe, 41% from three. Okay, Jimmy's a good shooter. People forget when 2019, 2020, his criticism was Jimmy can't shoot. Jimmy's jumper's not reliable. His mid-range game, we can't trust him. He can't pull up and shoot. All he does is finish at the rim or get fouled and rebound. I believe now Jimmy, still being a max player, can be not your main option offensively. He still could be arguably your most important player because, like what Pat says, he does move the needle. He has things you can teach. He has intangibles that you cannot teach and you can't quantify. Okay. And there's a different demeanor when Jimmy's on the court. Now, it affects your team because there's not a clear cut offensive philosophy when Jimmy's on the court because people follow Jimmy and then it's triggered by Jimmy. Now, you need to be able to play offensively same way with or without Jimmy, where Jimmy's not your focal point, even though they run everything through Bam and a lot of actions through Duncan. But now when you have a full training camp, let's say the same teams comes back. When you got Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy, Jovic, Bam, you got probably Tyler coming off the bench. You re-signed DeLon Wright. You got Richardson. I believe you let Martin go. I believe you even let Highsmith go, even though you can bring him back at a reasonable price. You have players, honestly, aside from draft picks, that are probably going to step up and be part of rotations at a time in season. Alondes Williams, Jamal Cain, Cole Swider is waiting in the ranks if you move Duncan. He's a knockdown shooter as well, and he's very similar to Duncan. My thing with Jimmy is it comes a point where you realize the every athlete has a breaking point, okay? And every athlete, Miami has supported him, has embraced him. He said this. That's why the quote, that matters. He was embraced not only by the city, but by the organization. So there's, like in a family, you're going to have arguments. You're going to have, your dad is going to call you out sometimes. And Jimmy's that son that likes to go against his dad and go against the grain and do things his own way. But then he needs to meet also happy medium. He wanted Kyle Lowry. The team signed Kyle Lowry. We should have never signed Kyle Lowry to a 3-year contract. We did it. I still believe we could have been more successful with Goran or even another pick, but they did it. They gave it a shot. Why? Because Jimmy wanted to. They saw it didn't work. Jimmy, really, in regards to, he hasn't demanded anybody. In retrospect, and I know we talked about it, when we had the opportunity for Kyrie Irving, I felt that they could have taken a deep look into it because it could have worked basketball-wise, and it was at a very low cost. Obviously, there's the Kevin Durant rumors, and now him coming and saying that, and Chad Ochocinco talking about Kevin Durant, that KD told him he will come. And it's true. For the right situation, KD will perfect fit. And another name to watch, and I know I'll keep it for some free agent targets or trade targets because I got a few. I still think number one, obviously, Donovan Mitchell. And it comes down to the Bam relationship and all that. But this is all with Jimmy in sight. And I do believe that, and I mentioned it various times during our show this year, I believe that he will be more successful as Jimmy gets older because his role will change. Jimmy really becomes a specialist. He can still be one of your most important players and the heart and beat of the team, but you don't need Jimmy to score 25 points, 30 points. I don't need Jimmy to do that. This team could win with Jimmy scoring 16, 17 points, 6, 7 assists, 6, 7 rebounds, 2 or 3 steals. That's the Jimmy that we need. Just get the offense going. And I do believe there's going to be a change in regards to that. And it could be taken as a challenge. It could be taken as Pat. What I love about Pat Riley, I'm pretty sure he didn't go out in mind. And that's what I know you got a chance to hear it. And when you see and you hear the press conference, after those comments, there was other situations where Pat talked about Jimmy and he was laughing and everything. So I know it's going to get blown out of proportion when he said it, but that's Pat Riley, man. Like he's going to call people out. He doesn't care.
Well, what did he say to you? Got to think too. What did he say to James Worthy and what he said to Magic Johnson over the years? That's the type of coach he is. He calls you out, you know. And he's doing it to the right players that you know. And to me, I would if Butler took it any other way, if Butler gets butthurt over it, I'd say take it easy.
Yeah, and I didn't answer your question. I'm sorry. In regards to
you didn't answer my question earlier either. You know, I mean that's how you are. Well, you know, 1 or 2. Oh, we'll do this. It's like son of a bitch. You know, I
3.
Yeah, you know that's exactly what happened. Alex, quick question, bro. 1 or 2. Just tell me what you think. 1 or 2. Well, how about this one? Let me give you a third option. No, mother, I said 1 or 2. No, try this, you fucker. You know, so I'm used to it. So go ahead, get to what I was asking you before.
Well, when Pat was honest about a lot of things, but when you say like, oh, we haven't talked about this privately, they've already discussed this. They already have a plan in place. Andy, Pat, that's the cool thing about. I'll add this part. Pat, because of his stature and who he is, a lot of these press conferences obviously are to send messages.
Yes.
But it's also to send messages on behalf of his head coach, Eric Spoelstra, on behalf of the owner, Mickey Harrison, on behalf of the GM, Andy Elisburg. Because if you do it in season, and they're famous for this, just Eric Spoelstra is the one that talks to the media. Pat doesn't talk to the media. Andy doesn't talk to the media. Mickey Harrison doesn't talk to the media. They all handle that in-house. And I love that because that's an organization that's properly ran. Because they have problems just like everybody else. They have problems with their players, even with the law. There's a lot of situations that go on in the season that people don't know about, and they take care of that in-house. So when Pat comes out and says a lot of these things, they already have a plan in place. Because even financially, is it financially responsible to commit to an extra $60 million 3 years from now? No, it's not. A lot of teams do it because they can't afford to lose those players. And the players are going to take financial security. So these extensions were never, he's eligible for an extension 3 years before. These contracts used to be handled a year before where you got an extension or your contract was up, you talked about it, you negotiated. You have players signing extensions a year into their deal, 2 years into their deal. So I love that he said that we have time. And it's true because now this is a leverage play. Jimmy doesn't have any leverage right now. The only leverage he has if he comes out publicly and demands a trade. That's it. Jimmy's under contract for another 2 years. Another year and a player option, which if he gets hurt or anything, he's going to kick in the player option. So it's just a lot of factors that come into play. And it's all going to be, if you acquire a Donovan Mitchell, if you acquire another player, then you're going to see probably a Jimmy extension become, because that's your team for the next 3 years. And you're basically creating a 3-year window because Jimmy has 2 years left. One of them is an opt-out, a player option. So if he signs a 2-year extension, that player option is eliminated. He plays next year under his old contract, and then the extension turns to 2 years after that. So it's a 3-year window. So it all varies on who we acquire. If we acquire another player, I think Jimmy signs his extension.
All right. So let's roll into that. Talking about trades and possible players we could look into getting and bringing. And of course, you brought it up earlier, Tyler Herro. Yeah. Every season, it seems like Tyler Herro's name is brought up.
Yeah.
No doubt Tyler showed up and did some things, looked good. I mean, he came up being one of the leading scorers at one point, even though the leading scorer for the season was Jimmy and the leading scorer for the playoffs was Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
But Tyler Herro showed what he is and who he is. But it was very interesting to hear UD say, hey, his best role is the sixth man. Duncan should be starting. And I'm sure that's music to our friend Courtney's ears. And I don't really disagree with it. I think I think it's true, but I can understand Pat. I think Pat more saying what he said in regards of Tyler and he's saying UD should really stay quiet when he's talking like that. I'm sure UD heard something afterwards anyway. You got to think about trades, and value. If you say, oh, he should be a six man and I'm another team and I know you're a part of that organization,
you're depreciating your assets.
You just lowered my value because why am I trading a star player for a six man? Where Pat's like, no, that's a starter, But something he said that was very interesting. Let's read that. It was Tyler Herro's health. He's been fragile. He may have to go to another level nutritionally. He has to make some adjustments. Maybe someday he will surprise everyone and play every game. That's when you just said the dude's a starter and you posted him up. Because you're like, hey, trade value, and hey, this dude is a starter and he's a good player. And then basically the next thing you just tore him down and you're saying he's a bag of Doritos. He's fragile like a bag of Doritos. So could a real package and you plug in, even though I think Jaime wouldn't be included just because of what he could do right now, immediate, and what he is to a team that's with a window. But let's say you bring in Tyler, you put Tyler in there, Jaquez or Jovic and someone else, whatever, for a Donovan Mitchell. You if you're another team and you hear this, which way are you actually leaning? Is that enough for a Donovan Mitchell?
Well, it's going to come down to what leverage do I have? Because if Donovan comes out and I'm the GM for the Cavs, and obviously you want to kind of handle this in-house, you want to make sure nothing leaks, even though it's going to leak and it's going to come out publicly. You start analyzing and you're trying to get the best assets you can get. Obviously, you call Miami, you're not going to get Bam, you're not going to get Jimmy. You focus on Tyler. For sure, you can get Tyler because the money works. You don't want Terry Rozier because you got Garland. And then you have the possibility of like, okay, what do I need? All right, I need a shooter. I got Duncan. I'm trying to get Jaquez. I'm trying to get Jovic. But honestly, I think that he will use their first round picks or multiple picks or pick swaps before they move Jaquez or Jovic because they want him to be part of this. Could it cost us one? Maybe. But I think if Donovan Mitchell plays his cards the right way, because it all becomes down to who is he interested in going to. There's always rumors about Brooklyn, the Knicks mostly. I don't think the Knicks have the assets to pull it off because they're going to be – who are you going to offer? Julius Randle? OG? I don't think that's going to be a move that they'll do because they don't have comparable assets.
But it's also moves that can hurt you because look where you are. If you're the New York Knicks, look how far you've come. And then look at Brunson. Brunson has put himself on another stratosphere.
Even the Knicks are still a player away. The Knicks are one player away.
Absolutely, but is that player Donovan Mitchell? I've said this to you year after year, and I love that Pat Riley brought it up. But when you and I are talking about trades, my thing is always the needle. Who moves the needle?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you have, again, does Donovan Mitchell, a 60-game Jimmy Butler, and a Bam Adebayo who plays a lot? I mean, I don't know how many games he played this year, but with the current, let's say if you lose Tyler Herro, I don't know if you really have to include Duncan, but Tyler Herro, Jovic, whomever, one of those two girls.
You would have to include Duncan or one of the contracts for the money.
Okay, so there you go. So Duncan, Tyler, and Jovic, let's just say right there, which to me is a good offer. It really is to a team like Cleveland, young, hungry, that's still a playoff hungry team. And you get a Donovan Mitchell. So now you got Donovan Mitchell, Terry Rozier, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Jaquez, and let's say whoever the bench is, okay? And let's say it's one of our normal benches that could stay with under the apron. Honest to God, and I want you to, and I know you say you do, but I really want you take off the Homer hat.
Yeah.
does that honestly, compared to what this roster is, which we both agreed coming into the season that it was a strong roster. We felt it was better than the year before.
It was,
but they came up short. So does that actually move the needle, or is there like, it moves the needle to get better into the playoffs, to be a better team in the play. But I don't know if it gets you there to make that final run into the finals.
Oh, I think.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it does.
You
absolutely.
Really do.
Yeah, with Donovan Mitchell, adding Donovan Mitchell, because that's, for example, your only competition is the Celtics, and I think that combination of players, everybody healthy, and with a proper depth. Honestly, people even think about this year with Jimmy. Even with Jimmy, I still believe we would have had problems. If we had Terry Rozier and Jimmy, it would have been a different series, because that creates, which ideally the lineup, I believe, we saw it only one time when Tyler came back, that he came off the bench as a sixth man. I don't know if you remember the game he came back, he came off the bench. Spo went with Rozier, Robinson, Butler, Jovic, and Bam. Terry got hurt. So Tyler was inserted back again in the starting lineup. But schematically, with this team that we have, Tyler is much better coming off the bench with Jaime, with Martin. In my opinion, I believe Terry plays way better with Robinson and Bam. Now, it comes down to, if I acquire Donovan Mitchell, does that take away a little bit more from Terry? Like, does Terry become obsolete? But he's still in attack mode. So Donovan Mitchell doesn't need the ball in his hand all the time, but he does have the ball a lot in his hands, kind of like Tyler. So you're basically trading at this point. Donovan Mitchell is a finisher in the playoffs. He's proven it time and time again. He had troubles getting out of the first round, but in the aspect of, look, I think that there's a chance that we come back with a core intact, but I believe that there's a push this year to make the move and push some chips in and acquire Donovan Mitchell or anybody else that, if Donovan Mitchell does not become available, somebody else that does become available. They're just not going to trade for anybody, but it has to be, for example, a name that I keep watching over and over. Two names actually. When it comes to trades, if it's because it has to be a trade, it's either Brandon Ingram or Paul George. I believe there's a chance.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was going to read off of some names here.
Go.
Free agents upcoming. We know Paul George has a player option. We know that he's not happy with the offers that they're giving him. They're giving him right below max. Yeah. So that option is on the table. And I was going to read off these names, and you tell me, hey,
ahead,
what? That's a possibility. But let's stick with Paul George. Let's stick off with Paul George first.
Okay.
So let's see here. Was his salary, I think, $44 million last year. So, and he has a player option for $44.10. Okay. Yeah. So $44.1 million. Yeah. Talk to me about Paul George. You think, is there a deal that the Heat could make a sign and trade? And do you think that's something that could help them move the needle with a Jimmy, Bam, and Paul George being the centerpiece for a Heat team next year?
Yeah. Look, right now, Kevin Durant is not available. I don't think Kevin Durant's going to ask out.
No,
so
I'm not
going to remove that. Gone. Number one option, Donovan Mitchell. Why? He wants to be here. He's in the same timeline as Bam. So there you're aligned after Jimmy. You already have your core there after Jimmy. The secondary option, because of his scoring, his natural fit to the position, his size as well, is Paul George. Paul George is a player that you will probably move Tyler and Robinson to make the money work. And you don't need to give that much compensation, because the Clippers are going to need a young scoring guard. You have that in Tyler. You need shooting. You have that in Robinson. So if you see Paul George opt in to his contract with the Clippers, there's a trade going to happen. Kind of like the James Harden situation with Phoenix, or with Philadelphia, where he opted in.
The secondary, just say, let's say it does happen, right? Let's say he opts in. Breaking news, Heat make the trade. Well, let's say that trade centers around, of course, there might be other pieces or whatever. But let's say it centers around Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. Those are the two main pieces, maybe a young piece, who knows, or a draft pick, second round pick, whatever.
Correct.
Are you comfortable giving him an extension at that point?
Yes, the same extension I'll give Jimmy, a 2-year extension to his current contract. So I'm in the 3-year window. So I'll give Jimmy. I will only do the Paul George move is his contract is aligned with Jimmy's contract, because then that same offseason I have Paul George's numbers coming off my books, and I got Jimmy Butler's numbers coming off the books. What the hell is that?
What are you
Is
doing,
this
bro?
my iPad again?
That's your iPad, bro.
Holy shit. Hold on.
Whoa!
Dude,
Yo, I swear to you, I think it's either your daughter or your wife messing with you. Is there anyone who has access to that?
No, man, nothing. It's just me. This is actually my work iPad. Like, look at this. Remember, I started like this, like when I said peace or something.
Yeah.
What
That's
is this?
crazy, bro.
I have to ask Jamila what this is. I have no idea what this is.
That's crazy, man.
This is when you kind of age yourself and I'm not a super tech savvy guy, but I'm like, what is this? Like I tell you literally when I found out that the whole balloon things when you say happy birthday, it started coming out.
Yeah,
I said it last time.
congratulations or happy birthday.
Like, holy shit. Am I late to the party? Give the finger. Hold on, let me see if it gives a finger. Oh, come on. Double finger?
Oh, we can't share
nothing?
this episode. That's it.
Oh man.
Sponsorship
Jesus
taken
Christ.
away.
Gone.
Paul George. So here's some names. Anything?
No.
Nope. All right. I swear, dude. I don't know.
Let me see if it comes close to you or don't. Oh, and it's funny because it does the bubble. Like if I'm saying, like if I'm doing it, there has to be a feature that I turned on or something that I have no idea how I turned it on.
Doofus. The got that American eye. You got the Hialeah iPad on sale somewhere.
$40, bro. $40, as good as new, man. Good as new, bro.
Brand new, bro. Bro, take it, bro. Trust me.
Look,
I'm losing money, bro. Bro, I'm losing money. Just take it away before I take it away before I change my mind, bro.
Why did we all of a sudden turn into Harrison?
Oh man, yeah, I gotta call it.
Do it.
Come on, bro.
Come on, bro. You know he's gonna call you. It's only a matter of time.
Oh, I told him already. I was doing a show. He's like, "Why? We're just cancel that, bro. Alex sucks, dude. Why are you doing a show?"
Of course, always.
Yeah. It was all that noise. Because I told him, I said, "Hey, look, I said, I could, you have to be later after the show. I could play with you, hang out with you, on the, because he plays. We play that Fortnite at the end, a couple matches, Of course, we cuss. It's so funny. What do you want? You know what I want. Like, dude, you gotta wait, man. Let me take care of it, whatever. And then we'll start playing. Of course, what a fucking idiot, man. You're stupid, bro. Why would you go there? Whatever. Would you shut up? You're dead. Like, you got dead. Why are you talking at that point? Like, shut the hell up. Like, I don't have to hear you.
Bro. You lost.
Like, when I bring you back, I bring you back. Like, damn. Yeah. Oh, dude, it's hilarious. Like, that shit. I laughed so hard last night. I had tears in my eyes. We were playing that damn thing, and he gets killed off, he got killed off. And so, they have different things. You go around, you go when you land, because you start off coming off a bus, you're flying down, and then all of a sudden you land on this map, and there's hundreds of people playing, and you go and you grab a chest or you find a gun, and you pick it up, and you get bullets, and you get like 5 or 6 things. You get 3 guns, a health kit, and a shield. You make sure your shield's 100%. You do all the shit. Anyway, we're going off. I think he has like it's full disclosure, because that's usually what it goes anyway. But even though I've gotten 10, 15, 20, he's gotten 20, 30 kills. But he has like 10. I have 3. But I'm the last one alive here. Usually when it's, I'll damage the guy and then Harrison takes the kill. He steals it. He'll finish him and then he gets at it. So it's like, he goes, "Oh, sorry, bro." I was like, yeah, whatever. It pisses you off. But anyway, because at the end he's going, "Oh, how many kills do you have?" "Oh, I got 15. You got 5. Oh, it's like, whatever, bro. Anyway, though, the last night we're playing and he gets knocked, which basically means he gets shot and he's dying. So he's crawling. And so you're supposed to go back and if somebody's around, fight them. Then you try to bring him back, try to heal him before he dies. So then you got to get his chip and bring him back. Anyway, he's, "Bobby, bro, where's my teammate?" Shut up, bro. So I come and now I see like there's 2 guys. And I go and I thought like I had my shield was getting down. So I grabbed this fucking thing on the floor and I thought it was a shield that you eat, like you eat it and also you get your shield.
Yeah.
It's a tree. I threw it and I got caught in a tree and I got killed. And he goes, "What the hell?" And he starts cussing me out. Bro, I was dying. I started fucking dying. Like I had tears in my eyes. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, because he's like totally fucking livid, screaming at me. And I'm laying there in bed dying, laughing. And Tati and my son, or Tristan comes in, and Tristan, like, he hears me like laughing so hard, like he thinks I'm crying, and he looks at me, he sees tears. Sure,
Yeah.
and I was legit because he was so mad. And then Harrison started laughing. He goes, "I hope you get cancer, you piece of shit." Then he starts laughing.
Oh,
It was so funny, dude. He's such a pain in my ass, bro. But anyway, back to hell. What we're talking about. Paul George.
Yeah.
Love it. Love the idea of it. Obviously, big piece. Would make you a favorite in the East with obviously Boston. As long as your core team is still there, I would find it very hard to want to trade one of those picks because I think that one of those picks is a cheap option to truly improve your team. You could get a legit quality guy. Imagine if you hit. I mean, again, you think, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards was the first overall pick. We know, that dude was great. Not saying, but one pick could change your franchise. Dwayne Wade was that pick. LeBron, Carmelo, Bosch. Who's the other guy that came? The guy from the Pistons.
And picks that change your franchise that you develop. For example, the reigning MVP right now, 3 times MVP. Joker got picked 45th or 46th.
The second round. That's why to me it's like I find it very hard because I feel like how with the Dolphins a little bit. You finally have 2 picks, and you're right. You're a playoff team. Those 2 picks, yes, it's very enticing to get a superstar player to say, oh, but sometimes that kills you, doesn't help you. And like, yeah, if you're telling me about a Ant-Man, or you're talking to me about of course, Giannis, KD, oh my God, what the hell's his name from Dallas?
Doncic, Luka.
Doncic, whatever, just an example.
Yeah.
That's a different story. Let's have a conversation.
Correct.
What can we get? But at the same time, it's like, do I want to give up my first round pick this year to get up Paul George or to get this guy? For a limited amount that doesn't guarantee you that. It doesn't guarantee you that.
You're at a crossroads right now. Why? Because of the builds that we've seen. For example, Minnesota right now, right? They traded for Rudy Gobert. If you notice, and we said it, to Utah, they didn't trade any of their core players to Utah. They traded players that they were going to get rid of either way. And they traded their draft picks. So they got no picks. Perfect. The way it looked, I'm like, oh, man, this isn't going to work. They got to reshape something here. Either you got to move somebody. And what did they do? That's why also coaching matters. They hired Chris Finch. Finch came, and even Anthony Edwards said it. He's like, you want to win? You got to defend. He changed the culture of Minnesota. He changed their offense. He changed everything.
Well, think about even Karl Anthony Towns, how he's matured.
He looks like a different player.
And he's accepted that this is Ant-Man's team. This was his team for a long time, but he took that seat. He took the back seat to allow this young guy to. And look how that's helped their team.
Which is, I think, when Jimmy said change, I believe that's also part of it.
Pat said.
What Pat said change, I believe that's a part of it with Jimmy, where it's not only a psychological thing, but you start evolving in your career as you're getting older, and you start giving the reins to your BAMs. Like I said, there's a possibility that this roster comes back and the pieces that change are the pieces around it. And they give it a shot with Rozier healthy and all that. There's a chance.
And again, people might not like to hear that, but at the same time, that could be the moves that help you.
Absolutely.
I think more than likely, I think we'll get to the Jimmy thing. Just to talk about, because others are. So we have to. But I think I agree with you, though. Tyler's more than likely the odd man out. Because he's probably the one who could get you a decent enough piece or pieces.
Correct.
I would, unless you're getting that guy, the guy that could, like one guy who could totally revamp your franchise, or you're trading up into the draft. I find it very hard to trade for one guy unless he's the guy. Like if you're going to trade Tyler Herro, it better be for a deal for a legit superstar to come to your team. But if it's like one of those, I'm going to get, then I would rather go get if you're going to trade Tyler Herro, get me 2 guys. They don't have to be superstars. 2 stars or rotational players. That could either one start, one on your bench. I think that's better for this type of situation. Okay, so LeBron James is on a player option. We haven't heard. He's kind of teased about what he may do, which is his forte. He loves that. He loves the world of the NBA. And I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying what it is.
Yeah.
I will say this. Look, Alex, we just said it.
You see? I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling
Should I
you.
put it on speaker? Should I put it
Go,
on
go.
speaker?
Put on speaker. Put on speaker.
What's up?
Hey, you never called?
I'm still doing a show, bro. You're on live. I have you on speaker.
Cancel. It's over. No viewers.
Say hi to Alex. He hears you.
I don't like Alex. Okay, I love you guys.
I don't like Alex. He said, I don't like Alex. Just kidding. I love you guys.
I love you, bro. I hope you get cancer and survive, Harris. I love you.
Alex says, I love you, bro. Hope you get cancer and survive. He says, fuck you. I say that all the time. He said, I told you, bro. He said that because I just told him about that shit. We were talking about what happened last night on Fortnite when I threw the tree.
I just told that to this girl, Karina, in the car today. I always tell my brother, I hope he gets chemo and survives, but goes through all the treatment necessary.
Goes to all the
fucking horrible.
I hope you get cancer and survive. That's what he says to me, and I go through all the treatment. That's fucked up. Like it's a, that's a serious thing. I don't like to.
It's like, yeah, I know. It's like an optimistic thing for him at the end, but he wants you to suffer either way.
He wants you to
just go
suffer,
through,
that's
lose
okay.
the hair and all that shit, asshole.
Yeah,
All right, well, get on. Let's go. Come on. It's 11 o'clock.
all right, man. I'll talk to you later. I love you. Bye.
7 o'clock. Yeah, I still wake up early to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, right. He called out today, but anyway, but LeBron James. What I'm going to say is this: I don't know what's realistic and what's not, or if you entertain it or not. The same thing with Paul George, I guess.
Yeah.
You could make it happen. The Lakers, first off, are horrible at developing guys. They're going to try to get everything possible under the sun for LeBron James if they do a sign and trade. Unless LeBron just says, "I'm just not going to play for you. Make the deal." I will say, and it's always entertaining to think about LeBron James back in a Heat uniform. Obviously, I think it could move the needle, obviously in the East. But
yeah.
And I'll say this: I think it moves the needle. And if you tell me if I had a chance at getting a LeBron James, I think he would do very well with a Jimmy and a Bam and the core players that are on this team right now. If you minus a Duncan and a Tyler or whatever,
Correct.
But at the same time, it's not like, oh, that's the number one option. It's an option unless LeBron James says, "Hey, call Pat Riley. I want to make this work."
For sure.
And now it's to the forefront and we entertain. So I will say we won't fantasize on it, but if LeBron James says it, I won't hate on it.
No, at all.
Because we still believe for a guy who is at 38 years old, I think, right? 38, 40. How old is
39.
he? 30. God dang.
He's going to be 40, I think. Did he turn 40? No,
I thought he was 40, but but my thing is, even at 39 years old, he still plays like he's in the early 30s, which is crazy to say, but he still plays.
He has
in the Heat regiment,
man. Oh,
with
yeah.
With a Hawkes, the same type of situation with Jimmy and Hawkes. You have a Hawkes, LeBron, take a seat, bro. You don't have to play crazy minutes.
We don't know.
No, we got the bench. We got the young guns here. But anyway,
he's going to be running the point for you, honestly.
Absolutely, fucking 100%. So, are we both in agreement, without going too deep in with LeBron, is that if that situation presents itself, we're not going to hate on it?
Oh no, of course not. You look into it, absolutely. 100%.
Would you trade Bam for him?
No, hell no.
Just fuck with you. All right, Klay Thompson is another name. So let's just run through this very quick.
Go through them.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
And maybe like a brief why or why not.
I'll just say one. The only one in depth that I would say is the one I'm intrigued by, and I believe it could be a possibility because they need to shake up their roster and they want to start someone that's behind them. Is the Pelicans with Brandon Ingram? I think there's a chance. That's
different. That's trade, and I wouldn't hate on that whatsoever.
No
3-point shooter.
Yeah, and there you move Herro and Robinson to them, and they have McCollum, Williamson.
Not saying he's bad at all.
No,
what I'm going to say like this: poor man's KD.
Correct.
You've always dreamed about having a KD.
Correct.
He's a poor man's KD.
Correct.
Except he's younger, I believe. He is.
He's 28, 27, 28. Yeah.
You could with him and Bam and Hawkes and whatever, you could have a field day. Anyway, so Klay Thompson.
No.
Okay.
No.
Tobias Harris. Well, let's talk about Klay Thompson very quick. 3-point shooter, range, veteran, star player. I mean, he's aging though.
Yeah. He's one of those players that, for example, if the Magic strike out on Paul George and things like that, they'll overpay for a Klay Thompson because they need him for his run. So he's going to get a contract from somebody, from a team that's either willing to overpay, even maybe the Pelicans, or I mean, I
And it would
doubt.
make
I
sense.
doubt
He's
the
not
Lakers.
he's not looking for a chip. He's looking for money
No. At this point,
He's
he's looking for the money, and
Yeah.
I think there's an outside chance that he returns, but it's very unlikely to me at this point that he returns to Golden State. But you never know. You never know.
Tobias Harris.
No, Tobias Harris could be just because of the Jimmy. He could be a good role player. Tobias Harris is one of those guys that unfortunately he got the contract and Jimmy didn't, and then he never played up to the contract. But Tobias Harris is a solid role player at times, so he just needs the right situation. But I don't think Miami will sign.
This next player is somebody that you and I have discussed before. I think he goes back to the same team he's at. But I was against. You were for when he was available. You had me leaning more towards the fact that I think he would work with Miami, and that's James Harden.
Yes.
I think he goes back to the Clippers, but it's not a move I would prefer, but it's not one that I would hate. I think he could have helped this year's Heat team, especially if he was there.
Oh, I think this year he would have been perfect for us, and it was a low cost move. It was a low risk move because he had a decent contract also. So I do think did he sign? He hasn't signed an extension with the Clippers. Now that you say that,
Not yet. No. He's a
Okay.
free agent, unrestricted free agent.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Florida Panthers won today. I know people are texting me that and everything.
Nice.
I'm very excited about that.
Holy shit, 6-1.
6-1.
Great.
And I know Will from 305 Sports Now just let us know that earlier too. And he will be on with us next week too. Will's going to be our guest again next week. So I'm excited about having him on 305 Sports Now. Pascal Siakam is an unrestricted free agent.
Oh, he's gonna resign.
Yeah,
he's gonna resign with the Pacers.
Gordon Hayward. He's unrestricted, and he's not getting that $30 million. He's not getting that.
No. He's gonna sign with a contender.
We don't get Kyle Lowry is, but we can't even bring him back, right? It's like
he's staying. No, he's probably staying in Philadelphia. No, yeah, we could bring him back.
Could we?
Next year, yeah, I think so. But I think he stays in Philadelphia. He's gonna sign a minimum deal. He's just gonna be backup point.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back if he connects back with DeMar DeRozan, who's the next name on this list. If he stays in Chicago, Lowry might go to Chicago. But DeRozan is a name that I think would be a perfect fit for the Miami Heat if you can make it work.
Perfect for the Heat. A fallback option probably with DeRozan is the Sixers, and Kyle Lowry stays in Philadelphia, or the Magic. The Magic might make a play for DeRozan because they need some veteran experience too.
The Sixers have to do something, dude. And Murray needs to get fired. Murray's an idiot.
Well,
I think he's the one pushing that whole thing with Jimmy. I really do.
Oh, it's confirmed. How do I say this? It's unofficially confirmed that it's been Del Murray pushing that.
Fucking guy. A name that I've always been intrigued with. There's other names on here. We've talked about Buddy Hield before.
Oh, I was going to mention
D'Angelo Russell's another name.
That's another option.
But one that I've been D'Angelo Russell could be an intriguing name. Markelle Fultz, Orlando Magic. Was drafted by the Magic #1 overall.
Mm-hmm. By the Sixers.
That's a name by the Sixers. Excuse me, and traded to the Magic. My apologies. But that's a name I would not hate. I think that would be a very intriguing a player who is obviously you could put him at rotation. You could start him. Obviously, he didn't pan out the way most, but he's not. I don't think he's a bust. If you call it considered #1 overall pick, but I think he's a decent. Like that's a name that when I look at his name, I'm like, I would be okay with that. I would be absolutely cool with bringing him in. I think he'd be a huge piece for them coming off the bench
at the right price for sure. And unfortunately, Marco Fultz is always going to be compared, and because in that draft is the Jason Tatum draft. And I believe Jason Tatum went 3 to the Celtics. I forgot how it was. Those are things that and honestly, that's the first time Philadelphia fucked up their build because that's the time they drafted Embiid. Embiid was out for 2 years with knee injuries. They drafted Fultz, so they misused. The idea was there. What Sam Hinkie did. Remember that? Like what he did. People forget about this. Philadelphia had like 3 or 4 first-round picks. Oh, Ben Simmons to me, I always believed is a Heat reclamation project. I believe he's going to be a member of the Heat one day for sure.
Yeah, Ben Simmons is that guy that, he's like, he screams Miami Heat.
His back scares me a little bit because at this point, people, this is the part where people question a lot of players. They did it with Kyrie. They did it with Ben Simmons. Like, there's a legit issue there because if he has a recurring back issue, Either the medical staff haven't picked up on it or his trainers haven't picked up on it. But when you have a player that age and that actually has back issues and it's happened, you have to take care of it before he can ever fully play again. Because people don't understand this. And I speak of this from experience. This is legit. When you have back issues, it limits you everything. It's more debilitating than a knee injury. It's more debilitating than an arm injury because it limits anything you could do. You saw Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson was a shell of himself in the playoffs. He can barely move. We saw, for the people that are a little bit older like us, Scottie Pippen in the playoffs when he went into those back cramps and I think it was in the finals. It was one of the finals games, and he couldn't. And then he had the migraine game. Like these things happen to certain people, but when you have lingering issues like that, you have to take care of it before you ever have a chance of reclaiming your form, if you ever do.
Absolutely. So,
and Buddy Hield is a name to watch, Bob. If Robinson
yeah.
gets moved, Buddy Hield is a name to watch for a lot of playoff. Look, that's an example right there. The way he was being used in Indiana was great. He gets to Philadelphia, and they use him. His numbers obviously didn't pan out, and he became almost unplayable. But you used him in the wrong ways. Like that's what people don't realize. Like a lot of these players are more valuable to another team than they are in their current team. And that's what people don't understand. People just hear a name, but like people forget Grant Hill when he played in the Phoenix Suns. Grant Hill was the next Michael Jordan. He signs with the Magic the same year that McGrady signs with the Magic when they almost signed Tim Duncan. People forget about this. The Magic almost had the original big three.
Yep.
Tim Duncan signed last minute back to San Antonio. Grant Hill gets injured. Eventually, he gets traded to Phoenix, and he has a serviceable career. Like I think he was in Phoenix for like 6 or 7 years, and he was a role player. So some of these players that we've talked about, like a DeMar DeRozan, as they get older, they can transition into other roles and still be effective on some of these teams, like in Orlando Magic, like on OKC. OKC is going to have some cap space. I mean, OKC is going to get pretty expensive in a few years because all those players are going to resign. But for it, and to me, you know what's insane, man, and I want to see how it plays out. The Nuggets and the
Ralphie boy.
Timberwolves series. If the Nuggets get swept by any chance, and it can be an anomaly because the way they played against the Lakers, the Nuggets almost lost 3 of the games against the Lakers. People overlook that. I know the Nuggets swept the Lakers, but they were down 20 in one of the games. They were down 15 in another game. They were down 13 in another game. So I'm like, holy shit, they're struggling this year. Aaron Gordon has been completely eliminated from this series. Like, he's not even a factor. Like, the way McDaniels plays defense, the way Nas Reed plays them, like, they've completely removed them. So the West is stacked for years to come. With Orlando has a chance next year in the East. They're going to move up. Celtics are still going to be there. But I don't see Indiana's going to get better. Indiana's maybe a piece away.
The Pacers, yeah.
Those are the teams. Those are the teams that are right there.
And if the Knicks can add a legitimate player next to Brunson with that current structure that they have in place without killing their structure,
yeah,
I mean they could be a that's why it is this offseason, like the Heat should not run it back in regards of complete roster. They can't do that.
No.
They and I'm not saying like, oh, a couple pieces. Oh, they changed out Caleb Martin. They got this. No, they need to make like a legitimate
some changes. Yeah,
so they have to be one key change and then little changes here and there to overall the roster. They can't run it back, but they could run it back in regards of Bam, Jimmy, Rozier, or Bam, Jimmy, Herro, and then with Rozier, but also we moved Duncan and we added this guy here.
Yeah,
we still have Joker and Jaquez and Jovic. Go ahead.
One name that I'm going to mention, which I think it's not going to be possible, but still, I do believe this offseason will get shaped up by the Pelicans and the Jazz. They're going to start making the moves. Pelicans and Jazz. Pelicans have to make a move, and Jazz have the draft capital to move anything they want and acquire anybody they want. Now, I don't know if Lauri Markkanen is going to become available. Danny Ainge just throwing this crazy price that he wants like 4 first-round picks for him. He's not going to get it. But Lauri's a missing piece to a lot
one of your
teams.
guys. That's a guy that you've always brought up. Yeah.
But he's a missing piece to maybe not us, but to an Orlando Magic's team. Like, there's a lot of people that can be moved this offseason. because a lot of teams want to balance.
Well,
their
look
books.
what even though he got hurt, look what Porzingis has done for the Celtics.
Correct.
Look what Porzingis done for the Celtics. So Celtics already had a lot of good pieces, great pieces. As much as we want to hate on, they have great pieces. But you had a Porzingis. I mean, look what he's done. Well, I mean, so
and then you look at Dallas, bro. Dallas had Brunson, Porzingis, and Luka Doncic. Like people forget about this. I know you got Kyrie and you're winning now with Luka and Jason Kidd has made it work. But that's my prime example. Sometimes franchises just remove players and basically Washington sold Porzingis for nothing. Like they could have traded for a little bit more. I knew his value was down, but Porzingis went to the perfect situation for him. Like players, all they need is perfect situations, good situations for them.
First off, Kevin, thank you for watching the show. Everyone's tuning in right now. Kathleen, Rafi Boy, Will. I can't wait to see you next week, brother. Everyone tuning in. B. McD.
Is Michael?
Ralph.
No, I don't think he's.
I don't see his free agent, but it is an intriguing name. If he was, that'd be a very intriguing piece. Yeah,
it's true.
It's true, absolutely.
Because we made a better offer for Holiday than we did for Dame.
Yeah,
that has been confirmed, and obviously Cronin didn't want to take it.
Very quick, we're about an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
We both. I mean, we talked about at the next week's show and so forth. As we get into the draft, we'll have our draft shows. But the Heat, I think could definitely improve their team. Still need to make a move, but improve their team with the draft picks they make, as long as they make the best picks. And I think they will. They've done very well the last two drafts, and a little here, a little there. Maybe they're watching the show. I don't know. But the last 2 years, I've been saying these particular players, and they've taken the players. So maybe they're listening over here.
Say the correct name this year, bro. Just say the correct name, and so they can follow along.
That's right. Well, I've done it 2 years in a row. I'll do it again. Well, you know what? All jokes aside, I'm so nervous to say a name now because it's like I just know the next name won't be the name. It's gonna break my heart.
Your streak is over.
Streak's over. I had to
retire 2-0, bro. 2-0.
Maybe I'll throw 5 names, and out of those 5 names, that's what we'll do. We'll just throw 5 names in the thing. These are the 5 players.
We could do that.
We'll do that. So, but I already thought about that, Alex. I was like, when some research players, I'm like, God, I know Alex is going to expect me to say a name, and he's going to hold me to it. And if they get it wrong, it's going to happen. I just accepted it. But anyway, let's do this very quick.
Go ahead.
Switch it up. We got our Heat talk. We'll continue our Heat talk as the shows go on. Yes. I'm sure we'll talk more Heat next week with Will and so forth. But let's switch gears for a second. Okay? We're not going to stay on it too much longer, but let's talk some Dolphins very quick, Alex.
Yes, sir.
Odell Beckham was finally signed.
Correct.
1 year, $3 million, up to $8 million in incentives.
Correct.
Chris Greer and company played chicken, and they won. He did say there was reports that he could have got something else more elsewhere.
Correct.
But he wanted to be here in Miami.
Correct.
So, just your reaction, dude. So they draft Taj Washington, Malik Washington, Virginia, and Southern Cal later in the draft. Some people are saying that Taj Washington, same thing with Malik, but Taj Washington, who's our last pick, was a steal.
Yes.
They couldn't believe that he got stolen by the Dolphins. Of course, wait and see. However, a lot of people are like, oh, we don't need a receiver. But before the offseason, you had Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, 1A, 1B.
Correct.
Either way you want to say it. Then you had Braxton Barrios, Craig Kraft, Easy E. As Dolphin fans, biased or unbiased, you say, no, I think, I'm comfortable with Barrios. I'm comfortable with Easy E. But really, in reality, it's not a strong receiver room after those 2 starters. You leave the draft with 2 rookies that are highly touted late in the draft. I talked about how the receiving class this year was very strong. You come off with 2 very good players in the end of the draft with Taj and Malik. I said it before, and I said it after. Just because you drafted a guy does not mean that you're not going to sign a guy.
Of course not.
It's insurance. It's the same thing as, we sign a linebacker, doesn't mean we're not going to draft one, or we sign an offensive lineman, doesn't mean we're not going to sign a draft off him. The Dolphins were just securing themselves. They bring in Malik and Taj. Their receiver room looks okay. I could live with this. I could talk myself into loving this. You know, this was the first draft that I don't have to talk myself into loving. I loved it afterwards. But now you go and you get an Odell Beckham. We all know. I see a lot of people. I see, of course, Dolphin fans. Some Dolphin fans are loving it. Others are hating it. You know, it's Odell. He's not. Of course, it's not the same Odell Beckham Jr. Of course, he's not the guy who made that big catch with the Giants years ago. I'm sure it's not the same guy who's on Madden or the guy, but look what he did with the Rams. Look what he was able to do a couple seasons ago. Look what he was able to do a little bit with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
This is a legit, solid number 3 receiver who could have gotten paid more elsewhere, but decided to take $3 million this season, $8 million if he does well, and he believes in himself that he will do it. Now your receiver room is Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., Braxton Berrios, Taj and Malik Washington. Now you're looking at your receiver room. You're going, okay,
that's
damn.
nice.
This is not a fan talking themselves into loving the receiver room. This is a legit receiving room. So first off, the deal. How do you feel about the deal they gave Odell?
Mm-hmm.
And are you feeling just as optimistic as I am for this wide receiver room?
Oh, 100% to both. I'm very happy with the deal. And first of all, on the deal alone, anybody that is mad at this, why are you going to get mad if you get a third receiver like a Beckham Jr. for $3 million? At the most, $8 million with incentives. It doesn't even make sense financially. Like, why would you be mad at that? That is a great insurance policy.
Jonnu Smith, absolutely.
Jonnu Smith. Like, I'm telling you, this offense has so much firepower that you have McDaniel, which is like a mad scientist when it comes to these schemes, is you can have a 3-back formation. You can go 4 wide. You can put one of your running backs in motion, be 5 wide. Like, there's so many things you can do that this offense is not going to limit you. That's what I feel. Last year, we felt that our depth was limiting. If we lost Mozart and if we lost a chain, that's it. We were done. If we lost Waddle, oh my God, we lost Hill for a game. We're done. Who's gonna make plays? We don't have a tight end. This year, I believe it's a good problem to have when you have a surplus of talent in your prime positions, and especially with the type of offense that we run. And you have also, like you just mentioned, the Washington brothers, and we'll call them that, the brothers Washington, where they're going to develop. And one of them was the number 1 target for Caleb Williams at USC. So this is a great problem to have. This is a great surplus to have. And I believe the Washingtons are going to make the team. I believe every draft pick this year is actually going to make the team. I believe there's an outside chance. Maybe Craycraft is cut.
There's a very strong chance. There's a strong chance that every pick makes the roster.
That's perfect.
I think maybe the one that might not, or I guess it's on the bubble. And again, I'm not hating on it. I just think would be our safety, Patrick McMorris, who we took.
Yeah, correct.
Out of Cal. How it doesn't mean he won't make it. I'm just saying that if I had to say if there was one, but I think there's a legit shot that every draft pick makes the squad. And again, they are rookies. It's going to take time. I know Kevin was just saying that he wished they took 2 other different receivers. They drafted 2 slot guys. I will say, obviously, yes, I would have loved and I'm not hating. It's not me hating on the picks because I like these guys. I would have loved a bigger receiver. I talked about Javon Baker out of Central Florida. Obviously, Brian Thomas out of LSU. There's other guys, obviously, size-wise. However, that is not Chris Greer's MO.
No.
Chris Greer takes guys. Chris Greer usually takes 5'10" receivers. That's what his history has shown. So it kind of makes a lot of sense. And you talk about speed, talk about the that screams. This was a very McDaniels draft. Every pick, even our second pick with Patrick Paul,
correct,
very athletic, speedy guy, big guy, all screams Mike McDaniel. I can't wait to see Achin, Wright, Waddle, Cheetah, OBJ lineup. Oh, I'm telling you,
but as a defense, I mean,
what's crazy is that the Dolphins already had the number 1 offense. Now, of course, statistical wise, throughout the season, they were number 1. Of course, we know at the end they kind of got stagnant and kind of fell back, but they were still number 1 because of what they did earlier.
Of course.
But this team, the way it's built right now, offensive line, yes, you got to get that guard secured at the right guard. But right now, weapon wise, there is no reason why they can't continue to be number one and stay strong later in the season. Jalen Wright is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm excited for him. I'm excited for him.
This speaks volumes, Bobby, because I don't think people have realized this. Well, they've realized it, but they haven't analyzed the depth of this. OBJ had a chance to go to Buffalo, had a chance to go to Kansas City, reportedly. He was going to have a bigger offensive role in those teams, especially with you have rookie receivers again. Kansas City Chiefs, Rice might be suspended for 6 weeks to more. So the fact that he comes out and says that this is where he wanted to be all along, first of all, it shows, number one, Mike McDaniel is a much better leader and he's always been a people person, but people have underestimated the importance of Mike McDaniel, the person, as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And also the identity of this offense, where OBJ turns down multiple options because he wanted to always be part of this offense. That shows to me, it's like that we are heading in the right direction when it comes to the team build, the team success, and the evolution organically within, where you become one of the best teams in football on the field. Because on paper, we're going to look great. Absolutely. We have a new DC. We want to play under his strengths as well. That's why we drafted that way. But until you see it perform on the field, people are still going to question this. But for now, we just got to rejoice in this. Like, there's no lack of talent here. There really isn't.
No. Well, listen, next week we'll talk a lot more. We're going to have Will in here. I want to talk about the Hurricanes. Cam Ward is the starting quarterback for the Hurricanes. I got to tell you again, I just started work on the 2025 draft. And I watched Cam Ward, some of his stuff, because he's a prospect possibly for next season. And I saw Sanders out of Colorado. Iffy. I saw some things I like. There's other things that I like. I don't see him as the number one overall pick. Carson Beck out of Georgia, I could see that. I see the talent.
They're saying that he took over, right? Carson Beck is gonna.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, trust me. I mean, of course, it's preseason now.
Of course.
I watched tape from this year, past season. We'll watch what happens this season, and then we'll watch again following the season to kind of make that final assessment. This is just me initial starting what I'm seeing. Quinn Ewers out of Texas. Very talented quarterback. I think he's right there in that discussion as well. Cam Ward. Man, watching him, I feel really damn good about the Hurricanes with him at quarterback. That's going to be some exciting football. I cannot wait to talk to Will about him and about the Hurricanes this upcoming season. We'll talk about everything next week, depending on what the news is. But we'll make it a Hurricane special episode.
Perfect.
Just talk about the Miami Hurricanes. We're gonna dive right in. So, Alex, any final thoughts? We're gonna end it here. We were more Miami Heat, but again, we'll get back into our normal routine next week. But any final thoughts for tonight?
I would just to all our listeners, enjoy the playoffs. You have great teams still there, especially that the future. I believe the Timberwolves and the Thunder series for the Western Conference Finals is going to be off the chain. I do believe the Thunder will be the Mavericks. And for all Heat Nation, just take a deep breath. This is the beginning of summer. This is it could be a tactical move. It could be all smoke. The team, every goal every single summer is to improve, and they're gonna turn every stone until they do that, and they're gonna win a championship in our time frame with Bam and all that. So be calm. Dolphin season now, really, we have to enjoy our Panthers, Marlins, and I know we'll talk about it next week. Also, the Arraez trade, and there's a lot of things that come with it. We have a decent return, but still, it's the Marlins, being the Marlins in regards to pros and cons. And once again, we don't extend somebody. So there's right now, our sports town, it's kind of like the up and down.
We'll enjoy the ride. Plenty of stuff to talk about. That's what matters.
So, but everybody have a safe week. Enjoy. And Miami's hot, man. Just stay cool, Miami. It's really hot and humid right now, bro.
It's hot in Tennessee right now, too.
It is?
Oh,
Holy shit.
It's terrible, man. But anyway,
James Summer number 2.
God help us. But I will say the Knicks are 2-0 against the Pacers. They beat them 130-121 for tonight. So they're up 2-0.
God, those games are going to be good, man. Those games are going to be good.
That's an exciting game. But anyway, yeah, no, guys, don't forget next week we'll be back Wednesday 9:30. We'll have Will Patron on with us. Saturday, Fin's Talk today, and possibly, if not this Saturday, next Saturday, the re-emergence of No Holds Barred Wrestling Podcast. Saturday
nice.
with myself and Josh Kimmel.
Nice.
But so keep in touch. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you. Everyone have a good night. Until next week, like, subscribe. Dolphin fans, fins up. Everybody else. There you go. Love it.